I'm Mary Polshaninoff, and welcome to Sure Things. Today's guest I actually found on the E-List, which, if you remember, I had an episode with Erica Tannen, who actually composes the E-List. She came on, and I was checking the list out the other day, and I found my next guest. Today I'd like to welcome Meredith Newman. Hello, Meredith.
Hi, Mary. Great to see you.
Great to see you, too. Meredith is a therapist and a life coach. And probably like many of you, have always wondered what a life coach does. And she's also going to talk about the use of vision boards later on. So I was very curious, and I reached out to Meredith to say, let's meet and talk about this. So glad to have you here, Meredith.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah. So now you're located again in Deep River, right? Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And virtually.
and virtually. Well, welcome. Yes. So Meredith, to start, could you tell us a little bit about your background? Because you weren't always a life coach, but before that and what you're doing now. So
yeah, absolutely. I began my college career actually in social work and found my way to business and really loved working with people, but wanted to go a little deeper. Decided to go back to school to get my master's in marriage and family therapy. So I had been doing that for the past 8 years. Working with families and couples and individuals. And I came upon, as my own personal development coaching, took a wonderful course with Martha Beck, who's a real pioneer in the coaching world, and decided to transition into coaching. So it's very different from therapy, but you do work one-on-one with people, like I said, both virtually all over the country, and then also in my office. Really focusing on the present time and in the future, where you would like to go. So people that want to get involved in coaching, setting goals or talking about where their life is and where they want to head.
So so when you think about, or when we talk about the main differences between seeing a therapist and seeing a life coach, you just mentioned, is it that you're looking more ahead?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, there's coaching that goes, I would say everyone could use a coach, right? A sort of a support hand side by side to help you carve your path. With therapy, that can be more sort of a crisis situation or working on mental health, stabilizing that, or, opening things exploring things that have happened in the past. So coaching, like I said, just the main focus is where you are right now and moving forward, where you want to go.
Right. So it's interesting when I think of the word coach, of course, I think of somebody with the whistle around their neck yelling, go, you can do it. Is right. Is life coaching in general based upon that premise that you're just there for the support?
Sure. So what I would say is, life coach, sometimes it gets a little bit of a bad rap. It can be sort of grandiose and frivolous. Oh, a life coach, what are they going to tell me? And they're all different ways of coaching. So I think they're different coaches for different things. So if you are career minded, you would get maybe a business coach for executive coaching. But the type of coach that I am, I do a lot of different things. So I support, what's really most important to me is supporting the person that's right in front of me. They have the answers inside them already it's their life, right? So I tend to ask the questions of, where are you right now? How does that feel? Is there anything that doesn't feel that great? What would you like to improve? So I would say I would, walk alongside them, setting little goals along the way. I'm more of like a walk with you, not like chasing after you, hurry up. It's a personal decision for someone to do coaching. And I really walk along. I wouldn't say follow their lead, but help them along the way. Yes.
Guide them that way. So if a person goes to a life coach and they're not sure where they want to be in the future, say in 5 years, is that also a situation where you're going to help them clarify and see that? Or is your job really when they say, hey, I want to be, this in 5 years, help me get there?
Sure. So I would help both type of people, people. And I would tend to ask the question, do you really want to be somewhere in 5 years, or is someone telling you that you should be somewhere in 5 years, right? There's a lot of different influences in our lives right now on social media, everywhere, family influence. I always want to get to the core of what that person in front of me is sitting, what they really want, right? So it may be very dramatic from the life they're living right now, and their challenges in that. So that is where I support them too in a transition. If someone comes to me, I had someone recently that was transitioning from a job where she worked for a company. She wanted to set up her own business. I most certainly helped her every week. The type of coaching she wanted was she wanted help in giving steps of each week what she was going to achieve, and I was to hold her accountable for that. So it's really curated to the person that I'm working with.
And in that case that you just gave, it's not that you had to give her the business idea, the steps as she went along. She knew the steps she wanted. It sounds like you were just there to make sure she was following those. The check-in at the end of the week, did you get A, B, and C done?
Sure. In my own way, I would say. And also there are plenty of people that come to me and are like, I don't know what I did. Right. All I know is right now I'm not happy, and ABC, I want to change. Right. So then we can brainstorm in ways. I think that what makes me a good coach is that, or why I feel so comfortable in coaching, is I've been through a lot of transition, a lot of job change, a lot of a location change. So I've traveled that path. So I'm hoping that my experience, and again, I'm not here telling my whole story to people, but that my experience can help support other people as well.
Have you ever used a life coach?
Oh yeah, sure. Yes.
Did you, is that the path you followed before you went in to get your certification in the area?
Yes. And I was just sharing this with a friend the other day, because I really think in order to do this work, you have to know what that person does, right? It's even when I was in school to be a therapist, we were assigned to go to a therapist, which I strongly believe in therapy. So I had no problem going to one. Yeah. So you have to see what that entails if you're going to work towards being that. So yes, I worked with a coach. I worked in a large coaching program where there was a head coach and there were 12 of us being coached by her, and then also had one-on-one with her as well.
So, and to do your transition from a therapist to being a life coach, you mentioned that there was some training for that. Is that actually a degree program or a certification program?
It is a certification program. It's called the Wayfinder Life Coaching Program with Martha Beck. Yeah. You might remember Martha Beck. She used to have a column in Oprah magazine. She's she's written about 5 books, really about finding your true north and your North Star, like what is true for you. I was really drawn to her program because it was such a great combination with my background in therapy. It really that program complemented that. So,
do you do both now? Do you have a preference on what you do, whether it's life coaching or therapy, or are you doing both?
I primarily do life coaching right now. I am thinking about getting back into therapy just because there's such a need for it right now with everyone, with the pandemic over the past year, and there is a shortage. There are so many wonderful therapists out there, but if I could do that in another realm, I would love to do that too.
I was going to ask you that during this past year when we were dealing with the pandemic. Did you, first of all, I'm sure you were virtual, but did you actually see an increase in your caseload for life coaching or therapy?
Yes, absolutely. I have just been doing coaching. I think at the beginning, people were really just sort of frozen, and not really knowing what was going on. We're all living day by day and waiting for the news and knowing. Now I really see a lot of people kind of coming out of that fog and wanting to, get back in there and say, I've learned a lot. This has been as hard as it has been for so many of us. It's also been a time for all of us to be forced to pause and really reflect on our lives and what has been working and what hasn't. So I see an uptick of people being like, okay, there's some things I need some support around. I would, love to work with someone to help me with that. So that's been great. Therapy, yes, has been consistent. I am part of a wellness group online, and I see a lot of need for therapists right now, for sure.
I'm sure you do on that one. Mm-hmm. When you talk about working with people as a life coach, and I'm hearing it's both ways. It could be somebody who says, okay, I want to be here in 3 years, help me get there, or somebody who comes in and says, I'm just feeling a little bit, unsettled, and I'd like to have direction, and I feel like you help. Do you have a standard amount of time? And I know this is going to vary from person to person, but do you feel you're with people, say, for 3 months, and then they're pretty much on their way, or is this usually a long-term plan?
Sure. I would say the average is right, like about 3 months. And how I do it is, I usually have 4 sessions with people. It comes in packages. So I do 4 sessions, and then you can renew those sessions. So an individual session doesn't really achieve a lot. If someone's coming and really, I wish I had a magic wand and could do that, but it's a longer term. It's not meant to be for a year or years. I think it's important. And I think that with both, I think with coaching, it should really be, you're there for a reason, and you're moving forward, right? And getting to a place. And I really want people to walk away from me and have those skills and tools with them so they can go live their life the best they can. So I don't want to be working with people for years and years, right? That's not my goal. So.
Right. And do you currently see a life coach yourself, or now that
not
you're
currently?
No, currently. I just wondered on that as well.
Yeah.
And I wonder, when you do your, I don't want to say advertising, but how people find out word of mouth. Like I found out on the e-list because you talked about what we're going to talk about in the second part of the segment, which is vision boards. Is that, do you use a great deal of social media to connect with people?
I would say so, yes. Yeah. Social media is the biggest tool because, like I said, with coaching, I've worked with clients all over the country. So that's the way to really get word of mouth. Collaborating with other coaches. I've done that too, where I like to support other women or men that are coaching and doing good work. And I tend to like to collaborate with people doing that too.
Yeah, I've heard, it's interesting with the word coaches, because I've even did some training with, and they call it again, coaching students with learning disabilities as adults, or adults with ADHD, and how to help them focus on. So it's interesting as I researched a bit for this segment and noticed there are so many different types of coaching, as you said. Could be the business, or in this case, I saw for education, or helping the adults even in business. So that's very interesting. Well, when we come back from break, we're going to talk further with Meredith, and we're going to look at the use of the tool, the vision boards. So we'll be right back after this short break.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work, and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people, and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Hi, welcome back to Sure Things. Today we're talking with Meredith Newman, a life coach. Hi, welcome back, Meredith.
Hi.
Hi. So we talked quite a bit about your role as a life coach and your training, which again, looking into the research for this segment, I noticed there are quite a few different certification programs out there for life coaches. So it must be very not popular, but there's ways that you can go about achieving that.
Absolutely.
And one thing, and I think this was what was mentioned in the e-list, was the use of vision boards. And I think the ad was about, or the information was about, learning about using a vision board. Can you tell us a bit more about what that is and how that's used?
Sure. So vision boarding, it's a great tool to use for this process during life coaching, I would say. It is just, and I have one here that I can show you, but so really it's meant to be, well, first of all, it should be fun, right? And it's a creative idea to use. Sometimes people are like, oh, I want it to be perfect. And oh, I didn't make this straight. it doesn't matter. Just have fun with it. So it's an easy, I'm getting a stack of magazines, going through. Sometimes I like to pause before I do this and set an intention of sort of what I would like to have on my vision board. And what it can be done for a season. So like going into the summer, creating your vision board, or it could be for the next 6 months or a year. Sometimes I think right now it feels overwhelming we know life can change so quickly. It's hard to do a vision board for a year or more than that. Right. So what it does is I clipped out all these different pictures from the magazine. I really wanted to I really love to add color, something visually attractive to me that sparked joy in me, and some things that I would like to do in the upcoming spring and summer, and how I want to live my life. And what, not only that is, it's like what I want to invite into my life. What do I want to, sometimes you can say, manifest for myself, for my family. So I picked out, I always keep actually a folder of, clippings that I get, or cards that people send me, or certain words that really resonate with me. So I always have a running vision board folder of pictures cut out so that I can access. And then I just glue them on the paper. And on the back on this one, I put some things that I have in mind that not necessarily goals, but things that I want to sort of focus on in the next few, for the next few months.
I just want to interrupt. So I wondered, because I'm wondering about the timeline for this. So you're mentioning that it's for the spring and summer. So when you do this vision board and say it's spring and summer, do you then revisit this at the end of August and say time for a new one?
I do. And usually for me personally, and you can do it any way you want. That's the best thing. You make it up as you go along. For me, September always feels like, even though I'm not in school anymore, I feel like it's back to school, for my child or for a lot of people. So I always like to do things in fall as a renewal. So I do usually do another vision board then. Yeah. Or whenever I feel called to, they're just really, it's just nice to have something to look at. So I have this in my bedroom, which is really nice, in a corner for myself so that I can look at it every day. If you don't want everyone, people that you live with looking at it or inquiring, that's okay too. Another way you can do it is put it into your journal, which one season that I was in, I put it in my journal. So it's something that I write in every day. I get to see. I find vision boards to be really grounding. Like I said, there's just like a lot of noise around us all the time and distractions. So it's like, oh, what am I doing? What do I want in my life more? Just having this visual here as a beautiful reminder is always really helpful and supportive. It's another tool. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of feedback from your members that have used them about the success, or how they found that these ideas have actually manifested in their life?
Yes. In fact, I had a workshop a year ago when we could meet in person last January to launch 2020. And there were about 20 of us that we had a workshop that I ran in Deep River. And so many people, some of them were my friends, and friends brought friends, and they said, oh, hey, I just found that vision board the other day. It really was great to look at that. It reminded them of being at that time, taking the time to be creative, taking the time to really think, what am I inviting in my life right now? What do I want? And realizing like, hey, I got that dog that I wanted, or I got that job I was working towards. I have another friend that really wanted to change her career, and it was a challenge for her, and she just felt like she couldn't, and she made it. She said, all right, I'm going to do a vision board. Other things fell in place. It's not, it is part of the process, though. I really believe in them. The first time I ever did one was 15 years ago, and I still have it. And I swear my life really transitioned. There's power about putting it out on paper too, and processing, putting it out there what you want. There really is.
It reminds me of when we hear the philosophy or the thoughts that if you're going to make a change, tell someone, because it almost holds you accountable. It's out there, and now it's more apt to make it happen. And that's so what it sounds like with the vision board as well. You mentioned you could go back to some, and that was my other question I was going to ask you. Are these things that you keep, or is it that it's a forward motion, and once you're done, you get rid of them and you're looking ahead?
Yes, I would say, so the one that I did years ago
Yeah.
was, sort of a projection of what I wanted in my life. And so that happened, most of it happened, or I'm done with that season. So I kept it because it was special. It was my first one. But there are other ones that I don't keep. I also have like a cork board. So I make sort of a one that I can rotate there. I have a cork board in my office, and I can pin the pictures on there and rotate that on there. So you are sort of, oh, wow, yes, I really wanted to plan that trip to Italy or build my community. Well, I did that. I achieved that. Now what am I looking forward to do? Yeah.
So you have some interchangeable pieces there,
Yes.
which help you again with that forward motion.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask another maybe awkward question, but this is interesting.
Sure.
So you do these workshops and you see people making the vision boards. Is there ever a time where you might interject and say, perhaps that could be looked at on a smaller scale? Or for instance, when that book, The Secret, came out and people said, okay, if you put it out there, it'll manifest. So I'd like to win the Powerball at $200 million. But as much as I put it on my vision board, I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Right. So I would say, I wish that we could just put something like that on our vision board and it happens.
Right.
It just creates the flow, the energy of, you may have a goal of like winning Powerball, but then you go and get a new job and move somewhere else.
Right.
And that is satisfactory, right? And that is like satisfying and makes you happy.
Right.
So I'm really careful because someone may have a certain dream and I don't want to be the person that's filtering through that. I would say, maybe tell me more about that.
Okay.
What is it that you really want if you won the Powerball? Well, I really want XYZ, and break it down, right? That's
So
what I
you
do.
that. Do you find that you use these vision boards with all of your clients, or I guess life coach, you'd say clients, right? Do you use these with
Yes.
all your clients, or are these a tool that you might pick out depending upon the situation?
I think again, I have like my tools that I use with people, and that, I may meet someone and that is not in their wheelhouse, or I don't get the sense, you could maybe mention it and they're like, I never wanted to, I'm not interested in that. That's okay. That's why I have learned all these different tools to curate to the people that I'm working with,
Right.
and it's okay. It's not part of the curriculum. There isn't really a curriculum.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you then some of the other top tools you might use? Is it like, I'm thinking of making lists myself, because I find for myself, if I make a list, I get things done. But
Sure.
are there other tools that you work with your clients with to help them stay on track?
Sure. I mean, staying on track, I would say, really getting to know the person, what their life looks like, right? Where are there some loose ends that they feel like could be, tighter to help support them? So I've had a client before that, I know I should meditate. I know I should do this. Well, let's take the shoulds out of there.
Yeah.
Let's say, what do you want to do to support you? I really try to work with people in that way.
Yeah.
A big tool that I do use is a lot of thought work and how we think about things, and asking questions, saying, I could never move to California. Well, tell me more about that. Why can't, breaking that up, because that is really a lot of times what holds us back from achieving what we want.
And having them go through that process, right?
Yes.
You mentioned the vision board workshop. So I'm just wondering, would that be something that if you were going to do that again, somebody might find on the e-list if that was going to happen?
Yes, on the e-list, or I will put it on my social media, which is, I'm primarily on Instagram or on my website. I'm hoping that once things loosen up a little bit, we could do some maybe an outdoor vision board workshop. That would be amazing. I would love to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm very inspired, especially it's such great timing with both the change of the seasons,
Yes.
and the fact that like we're looking at the other side of the pandemic where things will open up and there might be more opportunities. So I just wondered, as we're wrapping it up, a question, which is kind of a difficult one, but how would somebody know that it's a good time to go to a life coach? What might be happening?
I would say if someone is just feeling like things just don't feel right, they could be better, that there's something that's holding them back, they know that they feel held back and want to move forward, but just don't know how to go about it.
Okay.
That is really, I would say.
that would
good
be
indication.
A time to go in. And I guess, as you said, you know that there are other coaches like for business, and there must be that time that if somebody comes to you and you feel maybe that's not in your wheelhouse, do you have referrals that you make? Well, I know this person who might deal with that better, or have more information about that? Okay, good.
I'm so happy to refer people. And even that's happened with me when there's been someone that's come to me and they would be better suited working with a therapist. So I've made that referral as well. I think that's just really important. I want to be the proper fit for someone. I want them to feel like, we're a good match. And I do like a 30-minute discovery call with people just to make sure that they feel like this is the path they want to go down. For sure.
Great. That certainly gives people a lot of confidence that, whether that's the way to go, or perhaps there's a different path to take, that you'd be there to at least support it and say, well, perhaps, we should go this way. And I love the idea that you talk about the package where it gives somebody an idea, okay, 4 sessions, and let me see where I almost think that's a great goal then, to see where you can get at the end of these 4 sessions. That's great.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, Meredith, we're just wrapping up, and I want to thank you again for joining us. And I know I can find more information on the eList and your social media, which is amazing. I've learned a lot more about vision boards and life coaches, so I'm very, very excited about that. And I'd like to tell our viewers, if they'd like to provide any feedback or ideas for the show, to please email at surethingct@gmail.com. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye, Meredith.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Mary.
Bye.